Hello friend and welcome to the channel. I'm Grandpa Goes Gaming and this is the R270 steering wheel from Doyo. The R270 occupies a very niche part of sim racing in that it's a wheel for under £100. I try to suspend my expectations when reviewing extreme budget wheels, and under £100 is definitely extreme budget for a wheel. I did pay for this wheel with my own money. There's an affiliate link in the description to buy this wheel if anything I say today resonates with you. And as always, the manufacturer has no say whatsoever in what I say in this video because these are my opinions. I want to remind you that, as with all devices, the experience is subjective. Recently, I reviewed the SuperDrive SV200, which was about £50, and well, it did the job. But a lot of people came back to me in the comments saying that they'd got one of these and they liked it. One commenter recently stated that their shifter had broken without any kind of excessive use, so you know, you get what you pay for. At around £90, the Doyo R270 is nearly twice the price of the SV200, and so we can expect more features, and there are more features. The Doyo R270 is compatible with most consoles and PC, but it won't work with PlayStation 5 or with Xbox Series X or S. In the box, you'll get the wheel. You'll get a basic 2-pedal set, which are a simple sprung pedals. There's very little resistance around either, and there's no different feeling in either. There's nothing to stop it from slipping on a carpet, but there are suckers for if you decide to mount it on a smooth floor. There is these little holes here. I suppose you could mount it to something if you had some kind of DIY ability. The first big feature we'll see on this wheelbase is the clamps for the table. If we turn it over, there's no way of mounting this to a rig. What we do have is these hook-like screw-in fastening things with some rubber pads here to stop it from slipping. So let's just fit that to the desk now. Despite the obvious cheap construction, it does stay quite flat. So that's the desk you can see moving if you've got wobble on camera, which is good for a device of this price. However, I don't know if this is just my wheel or if this is something that's across the range, but there is movement in the actual wheel shaft itself. This is the whole shaft is moving around. I don't know why that is. It moves in and out slightly as well. So something inside isn't particularly rigid. If you've got one of these, let me know if yours moves around as well. It would be great to know if it's just mine or if it's the whole range of these wheels. Button placement is geared for PC and Xbox, probably more Xbox really. You've got the A, B, X, Y. We've got a D-pad which is, well, let's not talk about that, it's not great. We have select and start, LT, RT, and LSRS, so we're sticking with the Xbox theme. We have PS, of course, to connect this to PlayStation if you're running this on the PS3 or PS4. We have a sensitivity button, which I found very useful between games because the wheel has such a shallow range of movement, 270 degrees. You may want to use this to open the wheel up a little bit or tighten it up, depending on what you're driving. And of course, we have over here a sequential shifter, which actually has a very satisfying click, and it's spring-loaded. Don't think you can see that on camera, but it is there. Of course, if you're in a country which drives on the left-hand side of the road, such as I am, then this is actually in the wrong place. I don't think there's a localized version of this wheel. Of course, this is a bungee wheel, so we can get it to its full rotation and then let it go, and it bounces back. It's got a very well-defined center point, which the wheel will always eventually end up in. The entire wheelbase and wheel, everything you can see and touch, is made entirely of hard plastic. This isn't grip here, even though it looks like grip. This is actually a textured plastic, which has a little bit more flex than this plastic here. Because when it comes to flex, well, it doesn't matter if the whole thing flexes, because if this wobbles, then it wobbles. The Doyo R270 also boasts vibration features, so we're going to check that out as well. So that's the wheel on the outside. Let's take it racing. The vibration it's very muted. You can barely even feel it. The pedals themselves they're reasonably sensitive for what they are. Obviously, I'm used to driving with a load cell, so just some crummy little spring doesn't really cut it for me, but it'll do, you know, for what it is. I said we're going to suspend our expectations, and we are. The wheel itself is quite sensitive. Even though I've had to turn the sensitivity up, it was suffering from a massive dead zone at first, but the sensitivity setting is quite cool. One thing I will say about the wheel sensitivity is that it's absolutely no good for trucking games. So if you're looking to play Euro Truck Simulator 2, big frame drop then, sorry, or American Truck Simulator, something like that, you're going to be struggling because unfortunately the short throw of the 270-degree rotation does make the trucks very difficult to control. The wheel is comfortable enough. However, I do find myself catching these top buttons quite a bit with my big grandpa hands. So unfortunately, they are something that I have to try to avoid with hand positioning. I suppose it's something you can work around. While driving, the base does stay very well connected to the desk. There's no movement at all. And honestly, it's not an unpleasant driving experience. When moving from far left to far right or vice versa, the notch in the centre of the steering can be a little bit irritating. Obviously what we're talking about here is your first wheel. It's your starter, your first foray into, do you want to do sim racing? Whoops, you want to do it better than that if you do it. And realistically, this wheel is only about as expensive as a good joypad. As I'm sure you know, I don't give arbitrary scores on this channel. I just talk about who a wheel is for. And this one is not for a seasoned racer. Definitely this is for somebody who's either just starting out and not sure they really want a wheel. Could very well be for a child, maybe early teens, because the rim itself is very small. So not for somebody with large hands, maybe just for somebody who races every once in a while. I'm not going to say this is a bad wheel, because it actually isn't. It's perhaps laughable if you were going to compare it to a full force feedback wheel, but as far as bungee wheels go, I think I've used worse, definitely. And for under £100, you know, what do you want? If what you're looking for is better immersion in your racing games, but you're not playing the serious racing games like Rennsport or iRacing, for example, then there's nothing wrong with this wheel. It's something you can buy, set it up, have some races, put it away, move on. It's not going to be on a big rig. You're not going to see the big YouTubers shouting about it, how it's changed their life and made them faster. In fact, experience tells me that moving from controller to wheel actually makes you a little bit slower at first. Whee! Kind of hard to modulate the throttle as well, but you know, the pedals are the most important part of any sim setup. I'm not going to tell you if you should buy this wheel, because that's not my place. There's a link in the description for it if you want to get one of these. As I said, they're under £100, so it's a very inexpensive way of getting your first wheel up and running, or getting a wheel for a child. If you're looking for a long-term setup that's going to stay with you as you advance through a sim racing career, I think that perhaps you're going to be very disappointed with this wheel. But to put that into perspective, this wheel costs even cheaper than 10% of my main wheel that I race with daily. You get what you pay for. I always say that with sim racing. You get what you pay for. Sometimes you'll actually pay a lot for a wheel that's not particularly great. Sometimes you'll get a cheap wheel that turns out to be pretty good. Apart from the position of the buttons and this weird wobble on the shaft, I can't really say anything bad about this. It would be nice if it would have the PS5 compatibility, but then PS5 licensing is a whole different beast to other consoles. But what are your thoughts? If you've got one of these, let me know. Let me know if you like it. And let me know if you're thinking about getting one. Or if you decide to use my link in the description, which, by the way, does help the channel. It doesn't cost you any extra, but it does help me to do these reviews. I always love to hear feedback. So that's it from me and the Doyo R270. If you've got any questions or comments, hit me up down below. If you'd be so kind as to leave a thumbs up if this video was useful to you. And hopefully, maybe I'll see you again in the future. Bye bye for now.